friends, lovers, mortal enemies, welcome back to my channel. I have been doing some considering about how to continue to do what I want to do and give you what you want to get. I think one of the best ways to streamline this process for me and for you is to have a more ad-lib-esque approach. I think it would be best to try to do updates and vlog style stuff more immediately after I watch films. In particular, after I watch some of the films that I've watched recently. I've been keeping a little blue book about some of the films that I've been checking out, and I have notes and ideas that I'd like to share with you all. Some of the films I've seen more than once, some of them I've only seen one time, but I'm here to talk with you about them. I would like to do kind of a batch summary to give you guys a bit of something in my absence. I've been doing a bit of prep, as you guys may be able to see here. Give you a little bit of the focus on that, so you guys can see what I've been checking out there. Go ahead and pause, maybe read off a few. Those are what I've been checking out lately. Those are also some of my prides and joys, Criterion Collection goods here. And yeah, I also plan to be talking about some of these films in the future, as well as some of their lovely behind-the-scenes stuff. And without further ado, let's get to some of these reviews. Now, the first of which that I'm going to be talking about is a film called Spencer. You guys may be familiar with it. It's been getting a bit more attention, I think, since it came out. In particular, Kristen Stewart's performance. I do think that her acting is quite phenomenal in it. I do think that she's done a quite impeccable job given the scope of her career. I've seen some of her more alternative films, which I also really enjoyed the acting of, and I certainly would put that over the bulk of the studio projects that she's been behind. The film is incredibly artful and very pleasantly shot, though it feels a bit too focused on the aesthetics and on the luxury aspects. I know more about the designs of the tables and of the dresses and of her wardrobe than I know about what she was really struggling with. And I also feel that there's so much emphasis on this like brooding, dark, negative figure of Princess Diana, when the myriad of archival footage that I've been able to find shows her quite jovial in most occasions, and the film just really gives a contrast to what I think may be the reality. I genuinely haven't looked too much into the history of the film or to its overall accuracy to Diana's life, though I have at one point checked out some of the stuff around her death and some of her public representations and responses as well, how she was perceived by the public, and generally she was a pretty positive person. So it is quite a contrast to see her portrayed as quite this dark, brooding, moody character who never talks to anybody about what she's thinking about. Yeah, it's quite a different film. I also don't feel that it's very well wrapped up at the end. I could tell that the film was ending, but it didn't feel conclusive. Intro to Diana. The initial intro is fairly unconvincing, becomes more so. Feels forced from moment to moment. Curious. I'm quite curious how much is fact of the individual events that were happening around her life at that point. in particular, some of the scenes of her like off by herself or being found by like caretakers that work there or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, you should be getting back to the estate, madam." Blah blah. There's some, again, really gorgeous shots, really nice noir jazz score that just slaps. It was great. Anxious music and shifty angles keep it really personal. And there's some really nice delirious sequences. Diana overall, though, I feel is portrayed very anxious, pessimistic, panicky, victim-y. She is constantly sighing and scoffing all the time, and it genuinely, especially after I really noticed, was starting to get on my nerves. She's always tense, like literally all the time. She is tense. It feels very, very brooding on her death. Feels like it began like in the middle of the film, towards the third act. It doesn't feel like we began in the beginning of a film. It feels like it just started in the third part of a film, and we're now seeing it start from there. Really excellent dinner scene. Tension is well built and transitioned. Wardrobe and acting is generally pretty great. Does find its footing in some sweet moments where it gets a bit more naturalism, in particular her with her children. There's some really sweet moments and, again, very naturalistic bits that come up. I feel like they may have even been improv'd. Dream delusion sequences are done quite well. But did Diana foreshadow or forebode her death? I don't know. That happens in the film, and that's kind of... It feels a bit too heavy-handed at times. It feels like it's just ruminating on her death too much. Diana generally comes across as very disagreeable and hard to please. The middle is very strong. Anxious jazz score slaps again. Very genre bending. I did actually really like the bit of romance in the film, though I felt that it was a bit too dry. I felt that it wasn't developed enough, though there was some very cute stuff that was happening with it, and I wish there was more. Yeah, and then again, just brooding on her death. I have brooding on her death down like 4 different times because it kept coming up. It feels redundant. I'm glad they didn't show her death, but it is an anticlimactic ending. So, I think it probably would have been more climactic if it had her death in it, but I also feel that it's a bit tasteless. Yeah. I also feel that it's tasteless to just be ruminating on her death the whole time, so... that's Spencer. Next is going to be Come On, Come On, which I did post a Q&A for. I've only seen it the one time, but I genuinely might go see it again. I'm probably going to watch it if it goes to streaming. It was really, really good. I've seen a couple films by Mike Mills. I've obviously seen a couple films by Joaquin Phoenix. The man is a freaking legend. And he is phenomenal in this movie. The whole movie is incredibly, incredibly naturalistic. It's about him and his son. It actually won Best Cinematography at an opening festival. And yeah, like there's so much rumination on what it means to be a parent and familial bonds and the kind of fluid family relationships that we have and that we adopt, and how an uncle can be like a dad or or like a best friend, or also the the amount that kids teach you. Mike Mills does a lot of family stories, um, a lot of father and son, mother daughter type stuff, and this one was again just really naturalistic, very very beautiful film. There were very few parts of this that I could find any issues with, genuinely. I was quite surprised at how well it was directed. Again, how naturalistic it was. I got to speak with Mike Mills very briefly after the end of the film and ask him a couple questions, and he was incredibly nice and offered up uh, advice genuinely. I asked him how he would recommend someone go about making a film today, or how he sees films getting made today, in particular independent films, because this was an independent film. And he said, well, it really depends. It's hard to say any one way that anybody would come up, and he said that he's honestly not too on the beat about new upcoming directors and whatnot, but he said that for him these days it's find a good script, get a big name on it, and try to start shopping it around from there. And he did it, and he's done it before. So, yeah, I would really recommend checking out Come On, Come On. I really think it's a movie for everybody, and a really beautiful movie that's just about life and the pains of having a family and trying to grow and teach others to grow, understanding that it's not just the other person who needs to learn, it's you as well. It's pretty great. Definitely recommend it. In the Q&A as well, the lead child actor was very intelligent. I recommend checking out the Q&A on my channel. The child Woody, I forget his last name, but he was very smart for his age, very witty, very funny kid. I also got to chat with him very briefly after the show was over, and got a picture with him as well. Yeah, he, especially when I showed an interest in his movies and wished him luck, he got really excited and started telling me about some of the other stuff that he had going on and stuff to look out for. He's going to be in some horror movies coming up, so look out for those. Let's see here. Wolf. Okay. I'm conflicted about Wolf, because Wolf is almost like, it's almost kind of like a couple things. I don't know. It's almost kind of like The Lobster, but it's also like, it needs another like 40 minutes, and it needs to focus on different stuff for the third act. That's the first shtick. Also that it's really furry flick vibes. Like, it's really real sketchy at times. And pretty awkward and a little cringy. I really do not have a problem with furries. Live your life, do your thing. But even another fairly famous furry found this to be super cringe. That is a YMS review. My man gave a fresh furry take on the film. So if you wanna hear it from the horse's mouth, literally, then you know where to check. And I didn't see his review before I wrote down any of these notes, before I went and saw it or anything. So, there is some really good stuff about this film. There's some stuff that I really like, and I do think that YMS craps on it a bit too much, but there's a lot of attention to detail, especially the audio. I think that's probably the strongest point of the film. The audio is super, super, super good. The film is disturbingly cheery, kind of like Stepford Wives. Kind of like Stepford Wives and The Lobster mixed together. Really dig it. It highlights issues with systemic treatment and group therapy. There's a lot of abuse that happens of, in particularly mentally incompetent patients, the elderly, people who are severely mentally disabled. Abuse is disturbingly common, and I do feel that this film is touching on some of that. The kind of also like the sadism of medical professionals not realizing they're prone to their own psychological failings. How at times treatment will force people back into their illness instead of actually helping them. Traumatizing to block out other traumas. So you're normal, but you're just traumatized in a new way. And the old trauma is still there. The zookeeper, who's like the main therapist or whatever, confronts them with literalism to traumatize them. So, and some of that's really great and terrible to watch. And I wish that it was evolved upon. There's literally like 2 or 3 things in the movie where they did 1, they did 2, and then it's like 3 was just gone. Like they just didn't film it. It's not in the script. There's such a logical just fall away. In particular, there's a bird girl, and they build up like she's gonna jump out a fucking window and die because of this, and it never happens. And I was really disappointed. Not that I wanted Bird Girl to die, but that it was so built up. It was, it's one of the most built up things, and she's one of the most developed side characters. And then for her not to have any kind of resolution, for you to sit on her boiling point, and then we go into the rest of the characters and their conclusion, and then that's not even that fulfilling. It was really a letdown. It was really upsetting to me, and was just a very clear hole in the film. It was like they cut out an entire 20 minutes. Like I said, the movie needed like another 40 minutes or so to really cover all of its bases, and to wrap everything up, to finish evolving everything. Also how deception and abuse are used in medical practice, how medical professionals will lie to the loved ones of patients and stuff like that. That's pretty pervasive. Yeah, and a lot of the sequences with the 2 main characters were interesting when they were people, and a lot less interesting when they were animals, and could have been more interesting if there was more abstraction to it, if there was more intelligent editing with some of those sequences. One of my favorite sequences in the film is when they are in a therapy session and they're going through different emotions, and they're going through different kinds of laughter, and it's insanity. It is the feeling of insanity. It's the delirium of starting to go nuts with a group of people, and it's just so well executed. The film needed a lot more of that. But yeah, the closing of the film as well, just not terribly strong. Needed a lot more. Needed a lot more character anchoring and less of this this back and forth wishy-washy nonsense. Your characters need to make declarative actions. They need to take those actions, and there need to be consequences from other things that are happening. The back and forth wishy-washiness really doesn't work. It would have been better if she directly betrayed him, or he, her, yada yada. Overall, yeah, 5 out of 10. Yeah, man. Go watch The Lobster. Spiderman No Way Home. Now, don't really like Marvel movies that much. You could probably guess why. Because I got these on my shelf. And some of my issue with the film is my issue with a lot of the Marvel films in general, which is just ridiculous degrees of redundancy. I don't need to be told what I was just shown and then get a recap of what I was told previously and shown in a new scene, and then and or get a flashback to that. Like, stuff like that is just so horribly annoying. There's enough that's not redundantly told that people get on the first go that's far more complicated. So when you're taking the time to redundantly tell us the same simple thing again, you're not doing it for the children. You're not doing it for the people who are slow. Everybody's gotten it. Move on. That's overwhelmingly almost always an issue in a Marvel film. I also really felt that the crux of why there is an issue in the film in the first place and the crux of the solution of the film are both equally stupid as hell and are baffling as to why they got greenlit as the reasons. I could literally come up with 100 off the top of my head. Like, freaking, how about just the fact that Mysterio, like, how about just that? How about just that? Like, you don't need MIT at all. Fuck MIT. Who fucking cares about MIT? Did they pay? That was probably it. It's just so horribly annoying that's the crux of the movie. It's not even like, oh, the world knows my identity, let's go back and stop Mysterio from telling everybody or whatever. Nah, it's freaking, oh, my friends can't get into MIT, so can you do this spell and we're gonna mess it up, oop. And then, oh no, all these people in the universe, dumb as hell. The stuff that happens in the movie, pretty tight. There's some pretty cool stuff. I really dig Doc Ock coming back. I really dig Willem Dafoe. He's killing it. Did all the physical effects himself. That man is a legend. But I cannot stand the opening and closing issue and solution. They're just so horribly stupid. I can't deal with it. I also really dislike how out of character Doctor Strange is written and how out of character Spider-Man is in that context. And also that Strange would body Peter Parker. Like, just annihilate that kid. No question about it. I'm sorry. Yeah, the dude is a freaking celestial wizard. You saw him in freaking the the fucking Avengers movies, right? In Infinity Gauntlet, right? Right? You saw that? You saw how crazy he was? Yeah. So, aside from that, and how forced their dialogue was. That was another thing. I kept wondering, like, why are they doing this? Did they only have one day? Like, I felt like Benedict Cumberbatch was on set for a single day, read his lines, and they were like, okay, yep, that's good, run it. And it was not. His lines are so forced. It feels like they went over them like 3 or 4 times. Like, seriously, it's terrible. I can't get over it. The bulk of the lines, though, pretty good. I really think Aunt May's death is cheesy as hell. Yeah. I really love seeing all 3 Spider-Men together. That's it was great. It's fantastic. I don't know what is up with all of the trailers rehashing 80s and 90s remix songs. Death on the Nile, Matrix, some romance flick. I just had to make a note about that because there was like those 3 all in the same sitting, but then there was like 4 or 5 more that I've seen, and it's just getting ridiculous. So Nightmare Alley. Now, I saw Nightmare Alley twice. I saw Nightmare Alley once as the colored version, and then once in black and white, which is Visions in Light and Darkness. Visions in Darkness and Light. Visions in Darkness and Light, that's what it is. I got to see that at Tarantino's, and I got to go to the Q&A with Guillermo del Toro, which I will be posting on the channel soon. Look out for that. Poetic, atmospheric, lots of portraiture focus, enhanced. There's like an enhanced play. Excellent acting. Very stylistic, very solid tone, neo-noir. Helped to cut through the dense dialogue. Good evolution of character. Cyclical, metaphysic, very tense and gruesome at times. Also, very unpredictable. Also foreshadowing. Has light references to The Shining and It. And Guillermo del Toro shows that he really loves to cave in noses. If you've seen, what is it? Pan's Labyrinth? I was thinking Pandora. If you've seen Pan's Labyrinth, this will be visually... If you've seen Pan's Labyrinth, this will be visually recognizable. I don't want to say too much about it because I genuinely think you should go see it. But I do think that the film can be a bit slow. I think it suffers from a bit of drive issues, but I also really love the duality of the film and the overall intentions behind it. It's a very intelligent film. Highly recommend it. The Tragedy of Macbeth. This was quite a phenomenal film, genuinely. I was astounded at how well the scenes are cherry-picked for the film from the play and how concisely it's edited together, as well as how incredibly everybody acts in it. In particular, Denzel Washington. He's just killing it. The movie is worth it literally just for him alone. If you are a fan of Denzel Washington and you've liked him, especially in like any of his movies like American Gangster, Man on Fire, you will definitely appreciate his performance in Macbeth. One of the things that I actually really love about the movie is that it feels intentionally made as to not need to be understood. You don't need to know what anybody's saying. You just need to follow how they're saying it, and that is like easily the most powerful part of the film. The the film has a the film has a very dreamlike quality to it throughout the whole film. This keeps a this keeps this keeps recurring in dreamlike fashion, representing infinity. Yeah, you really don't need to know what people are saying. You just need to know how people are saying it. Everything's in Old English, and I frequently would find myself getting lost in what was being said, though could easily follow just by paying attention to how they were saying it. That genuinely is the strongest part of the film. Just the delivery and the editing really, really helped to cut through all the Old English and what would otherwise divide you from understanding the piece and connecting with it. Very authentic in many ways. The actor who plays the crone and the old man looks kind of like a female Smeagol. Absolutely excellent. Just phenomenal. Plays a very schizophrenic, crazy character, just absolutely incredible. Each time she shows up, she's knocking it out of the park. Great job. The symbolism and poetry is excellent as well. Very horrific, mystic, truly great editing. The film is also beautifully dramatic. Most sets work. Some look a little clunky. But overall, I really love this like constant representation of infinity through stars and stairs that go off into the fog and long stretches of scenery that disappear into the fog, or like repeating buildings into the background and stuff like that. There's a lot of different representations of infinity that make it feel very dreamlike. Cinematography, transitions, phenomenal. Again, the tonality is super crucial to the film and would be intelligible to most without the shading as well. The film is black and white, but the shading to help give the film color is absolutely impeccable. Immaculate passion and understanding of the text by all the characters. It really comes out in every line that they're saying. Very clean character evolution as well. Unexpectedly heavy and phenomenal closing fight scene. Really good. Decent music. Excellent sound design. Fights are really good. Yeah. Overall, really recommend Tragedy of Macbeth. I was genuinely worried about it, partially because I was afraid it would be too weighty or too inaccessible to many, but I genuinely feel that it is one of the most accessible and accessible adaptations of Macbeth and Shakespeare in general, that has been made. Thinking of the DiCaprio adaptation from the early 2000s by Vincent, that may be more or less accessible, but I genuinely feel that this one especially while staying true to the original text, is the most accessible recreation that has been made. In particular, because of its condensation and how concisely it's selecting scenes from the original, it still preserves the entirety of the message of the original while succinctly trimming out the less necessary bits of it, really streamlining the story, and as well keeping in some of the more notable speeches. There's a couple, again, from Denzel and from Frances McDormand that are particularly well delivered, and definitely a treat to watch just on their own. Again, the passion in Denzel's voice through some of the speeches just really get you. Matrix 4. Feels like a Marvel movie. It is too damn funny. In preparation for Matrix 4, we watched Marvel 1, 2... Matrix 1, 2, and 3. And this new movie isn't anything like it. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't feel like it. It doesn't sound like it. There's some really solid ideas and visual concepts, but it's just lost in self-references and callbacks to originals. There's very, very few new ideas, and the new ideas are grossly underdeveloped. Few characters or interactions even hold any legitimate value. The plot meanders and retells, then rushes and glosses over. I feel as though they avoided the hardest parts and so just breezed past them. In particular, when, spoilers, Neo gets captured, watch Shrek 2, okay? What happens? Shrek gets captured. Then you go to montages, right? You start showing other perspectives. So you see Shrek get captured, put into the dungeon. Standard. Maybe a little bit of reflection on him, but then we cut to the B team. What is the B team doing? What is the C team doing? You know, then back to Shrek. What's Shrek doing? He's reflecting back on being in jail and, oh no, I hope my friends can come save me. And then you cut back to the friends and they're on their way to save him, or they just saved somebody else and now they're gonna go save Shrek and blah blah blah. That's how you edit together a structure like this. The fucking thing that they do is, Neo, you're captured, and Neo's like, oh no, I hope my friends can get me. Oh my god, my friends are here. Let's leave. And that's it. The whole damn thing is over in literally less than 5 minutes. From him getting imprisoned and getting out of prison, I think it's literally like 2-3 minutes, maybe. It's horrific. You don't do that. That's not good structure. Why? It's just so bafflingly terrible and laughably dumb that it feels like it belongs in the opening montage where they're making all these stupid jokes about everything that you could fuck up in the Matrix. It's so horribly disappointingly annoying that I don't even really feel like talking about it. It, again, is just such a Marvel movie more than anything else. The coolest thing I think that they did was the how they could hack people and they started diving out of the windows and shit. That was cool. And I had wondered why they didn't do something like that in the previous Matrix movies when I was watching those. But again, these cheesy callbacks to the previous movies with a half-ass fight scene that's not even at the quality of Matrix 1. And again, issues of redundancy. The whole first section, you could be giving us information, but instead, it's redundancy after redundancy of what's the first thing? This isn't how that happened. That's not Trinity. And they say something else of like, oh, we gotta get out of here, or whatever the fuck, like, just some dumbass shit, and it's like, literally anybody watching Matrix 4 has seen at least Matrix 1. If you haven't, fuck off, go watch it. I don't care. Like, Matrix 4 is out. Go watch the other ones. This isn't a reboot catch-up movie, because and if you were trying to make it that, if you were trying to have this little opening sequence to catch everybody up, so many people are just lost by everything else that is being referenced in the movie that there's no point in trying to catch anybody up, because you make no attempt to do so later in the film. So this incredibly redundant opening sequence is just making the audience feel so incredibly stupid. Like, you're just saying, hey, you see that? That's not Trinity. Hey, you see that? That's not how that happened. Hey, you see that? This is different. And it's like, no fucking shit. I know. I've seen the movie. Like, everybody in the theater has probably seen the movie like half a dozen times at least over the 20 years that the movie's been out. It's one of the largest films that's ever come out, period. So why are you redundantly layering this shit on when the first movie never did that? Like, there might be one or two times, but in general, the film has none of those flaws, the very first one. So, that's my list. Catch you guys up. Minimal editing on this video, just because I wanted it to be off top, and I want these in general to be off top. I'll try to stay away from the ums, the ahs, the long pauses and silences, but I also can't help if there are garbage trucks, loud cars, the apocalypse happening outside, something to that degree. And yeah, I want to have a authentic interaction. I want to give my honest, upfront thoughts and upload more frequently. I want to give you what you want, and I want to do it how I want to do it. Working on it. I appreciate you. If there are any movies that you think that I should check out and review, feel free to comment below, and I'll take a look. I'll consider it. I do have another batch of movies that I will be reviewing pretty soon here. They are already in the books, and I will talk to you later. Hope you have a good rest of your day. I love you guys. Take care.